Okay, we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with this evening's live stream, 7:35 p.m. It is the 10th of April. It is 2. And as always, we're going to look at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press here in Spain today. We'll look at some comments that have been left on the channel in recent times by viewers, the usual format of the live stream today. We'll go into the chat section towards the second half of the live stream to see what's happening among the viewers who are watching live. So as I always say, if you're watching the live stream tonight, say hello in that live chat. Now, we'll get straight into the news. Lots going on at the moment, especially the Spain-China relationship. And one country in particular is not happy about this newfound friend that Spain has. As we can see here, Donald Trump targets Prime Minister Sánchez for leading Europe's rapprochement with China. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has drawn criticism from the Trump administration for leading efforts to strengthen Europe's ties with China as Sánchez prepares to visit Beijing for talks with Chinese leader President Xi Jinping. The US has expressed alarm over Spain's role in encouraging a European pivot towards Asia. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent issued a veiled warning at a public forum, reacting to comments reportedly made by Spain's leadership in favor of aligning more closely with China. Bessent claimed that doing so would be cutting your own throat, arguing that China's strategy of overproduction and market dumping poses a serious risk to open economies. Sánchez, who has developed ties with Xi over several years and positioned Spain as a potential EU-China bridge, now finds himself directly in Trump's line of fire. The situation underlines the growing tension between Washington and Beijing, with Spain emerging as a focal point in the broader geopolitical clash. So, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez currently on his way to China, if he's not there already. Firstly, he visited Vietnam, where strong trade agreements have been reached between those two countries, Spain and Vietnam, and on his way to China to do the same thing, I imagine, strengthen those trade ties. President or Prime Minister Sánchez sees China as an ally at the moment, as an investment partner to bring lots of foreign investment into Spain, especially when it comes to renewable energies and electric vehicles, and setting up plants here in Spain for those electric vehicles, which is going against the European Union policy. The European Union wants to stop the entry of Chinese electric vehicles, but Mr. Sánchez is trying to lobby the European Union to change its stance on China, and China, as we can see there, hoping that that will be the case, that Mr. Sánchez will be able to convince the European Union to be more friendlier with China, of course. But the US administration not happy. So what's the Spanish government saying about this problem, or the potential problem with the US? Let's see. And as we can see here, the Spanish government stands firm on its support for Beijing, despite warnings from the US. We want to leave a deep footprint in Asia. China is a key global player, says the Spanish government. Despite US warnings, the Spanish government remains committed to strengthening ties with China. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez arrives in Beijing as the first global leader to visit since the outbreak of the latest tariff war. The trip, coordinated with the EU, seeks to solidify economic and political relations with China and address the significant trade imbalance between the two nations. The visit follows US criticism of Spain's alignment with China and comes as the Trump administration announces a 90-day tariff truce that notably excludes China. Sánchez has called the US tariffs unjustified and views the temporary truce as a valuable opening for international negotiation. Speaking earlier in Vietnam, where the Spanish companies are targeting infrastructure projects worth up to 59 billion euros, Sánchez emphasized Spain's vision for an open world where trade fosters unity and prosperity. He declared China as a key global actor, underlining his government's determination to expand its influence in Asia. So the Spanish government, as we can see here, keen to expand its influence in Asia, which is something that historically Spain has not done. It's never had a very strong position in Asia. Spain has always looked to the west, heading towards the Americas, rather than to the east, looking towards the Asian countries for trading partners and support. But all that has changed under Prime Minister Sánchez, who, as I said before, sees China as a key potential investor in the Spanish economy. He wants those Chinese monies to come into Spain and also other European countries. So interesting what's going on at the moment. We'll see how this goes. We also saw the truce that the Trump administration named yesterday, putting a 90-day delay on those tariffs. Of course, the stock markets went up, and one of the greatest backflips, I should say, since Greg Louganis in the '88 Olympics was the Trump administration yesterday, and the stock markets reacted as a result. Changed today, of course, because the news about China, I think, has modified that. But the Spanish stock market today was very, very buoyant, as we can see here. The IBEX 35 joins Wall Street's euphoria and opens with the biggest surge in 15 years after Trump announces tariff pause. The IBEX 35 saw its biggest one-day gain in 15 years after US President Donald Trump announced the 90-day pause on new tariffs. This decision sparked a wave of optimism across global markets, including strong gains on Wall Street and in European and Asian exchanges. Spain's benchmark index, which had fallen by nearly 12% in the previous 5 sessions and lost 98 billion euros in market cap, rebounded sharply with an 8.08% rise to 12,709.9 points at Thursday's open. Other European indices recorded even stronger surges. The last comparable rally for the IBEX 35 occurred in May 2010, when it jumped 14.44% following the EU's approval of the MEDE financial rescue mechanism. Trump's announcement offered relief to countries that had refrained from retaliating against US trade measures introduced on the 2nd of April. Dubbed Liberation Day, the tariff pause is viewed by markets as a potential opening for trade negotiations, fueling widespread investor enthusiasm. And the investor enthusiasm, as stated here, according to the markets today, I think, which are down in the US. They were very high today in Asia and also in Europe. But of course, the Chinese extra tariff that the Trump administration has placed, 145%, I think, has also caused them to go down today. I think the major stock exchanges in the United States, the Dow and the S&P 500. So, as I said, interesting times we are living at the moment as far as the financial markets are concerned, and most likely the IBEX 35 will open with losses tomorrow as a result of the US trading today. But we saw there the highest jump in 15 years, 8.8%, but of course that was moderated down to 4 point something at the end of trading today. And the final piece of news here, an update on Spain's #1 fugitive, Carles Puigdemont, who currently resides in Waterloo, Belgium. And the Supreme Court here in Spain has confirmed that it will not apply amnesty to that gentleman for misuse of public funds. Spain's Supreme Court has confirmed that it will not grant amnesty to former Catalan President Carles Puigdemont for the crime of misappropriation of public funds. The appeals chamber upheld Judge Pablo Llarena's earlier ruling, which stated that the amnesty law excludes the specific type of misuse of funds for which Puigdemont, along with former ministers Toni Comín and Luis Puig, are charged. This decision now allows Puigdemont to appeal to the Constitutional Court, which has already admitted similar cases, such as those of Oriol Junqueras and the other former Catalan officials who were denied amnesty. The ruling also rejected appeals from the Spanish government and the public prosecutor, who criticized the Supreme Court's interpretation as inconsistent and legally unsound. According to the prosecutor's office, the actions for which Puigdemont and others are prosecuted clearly fall under the the amnesty law supported by the PSOE and Catalan independence parties, making the court's decision controversial. So there we go. The update on Carles Puigdemont, Spain's #1 fugitive, not coming back to Spain anytime soon. But of course, he's got that ace up his sleeve there, the Constitutional Court, which, let's be honest, the current Spanish government likes to think that it controls. So most likely, when it hits the Constitutional Court, we could see Carles Puigdemont coming back to Spain as a free man without those charges hanging over him and his other co-conspirators there that we saw there, who are also facing charges and are most likely living with him outside of the country. Now, into the comment section we're going to go. Let's see what has been bubbling away in the comment section in recent times. The first one here from Tony. So does that mean that ham, gin and fine wine will be available at lower prices in Europe? The new food mountain will have to be sold, so prices should fall. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, I don't know if ham, gin and fine wine prices will fall in Spain, given that they can't, well, there has been a 90-day moratorium, if you like, put on those tariffs, so maybe the situation will change. As far as exporting is concerned, no changes, but if those tariffs do come into place, there could be a price decline here in Spain for those products. I don't know, but they will have to be shipped somewhere, and maybe they'll go to China and Vietnam. Who knows if the Vietnamese have a taste for fine Spanish wine, Spanish ham, and Spanish gin. I don't know, but thanks, Tony, for the comment. One here from Simon, sorry. China might fill the vacuum left by the States if it plays its cards right. The US is now stuck with a reliability issue which will scare investors and markets. It's very likely that it will stay isolated in the intensive care unit for years to come. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, I don't know. If you listen to the markets, of course, you would clearly come to that conclusion that the reliability issue, the reputation of the United States has been damaged in the last 3 months by what's been going on. We saw the Treasury bonds. I think that was one of the big reasons for the change in policy yesterday. That backflip, which I said the likes of which we haven't seen since Simone Biles in the Olympic Games, or Greg Louganis. I hope I got the gymnast's name correct. But yeah, a backflip of epic proportion, and the market's reacting. But again, as I said before, down a bit today. And yeah, will it be in the intensive care unit for years to come? I hope not. But changing times we are living. That is true. One here from Kristen. China is obviously pandering to Spain because it wants to get its sneaky little fingers further into the EU. Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, absolutely. China is trying to get, using your words, its sneaky little fingers into every market in the world, if it hasn't done so already, with all of the goods that are being produced in that country. And of course, when it comes to electric vehicles, we all know the problems that could pose to the European Union, because Europe is a big car producer. Can they compete with electric cars with the Chinese? That's the question. That is the key question here. Where are the Volkswagen electric cars? Where are the Porsche electric cars? Where are the BMW electric cars to compete with the Chinese? I don't know. And we know that the European Union wants to protect that industry at all costs, because Germany is the motor of the EU. And if the German economy seizes up, then bad news for the rest of Europe. So Europe wants to keep that industry going, but maybe there is a compatibility between the two. I've got no idea. Pedro Sánchez seems to think so, and that's what he's doing currently in China. Thanks for the comment. One hit from SRF. Aldi also owns Trader Joe's, a US supermarket. It will be interesting to see how that pans out. Will the products disappear from Spanish Audis? Thanks, SRF. Well, obviously, with this pause in the tariff war, no, for 3 months or so, 90 days. But after that, Who knows if some of those Trader Joe products will disappear from Aldi shelves. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Aldi. I only go to Aldi when I'm in Portugal for some reason. Convenience is the reason for that. Here in Spain, I don't shop at Aldi. But I have seen some Trader Joe products, for example, peanuts. Seem to be quite common in Aldi, the Trader Joe peanuts and other products, I imagine. But again, who knows what will happen once those 90 days are up, whether negotiations can take place. I think the European Union is hopeful of that. So we'll see, because we wouldn't want to lose those Trader Joe peanuts, would we? One here from Simon, changing the topic. I actually had a whole turbot at our local bar last week, 2 kilograms, and it cost €45. Came with a separate dish of chips and green peppers. As the fish was so big, it had its own dish. Had a lovely bottle of Albarino white wine with it. My wife says I'm still talking about it now. Thanks, Simon, for that. Yes, the fish that I enjoyed the other day in my menú del día, turbot, or rodaballo, I should say, as it's called in Spanish. A highly sought after fish, a very tasty fish. I will say the turbot, and the way it was prepared the other day, quite simply grilled with some olive oil and some herbs and spices on top. Lovely it was, and Simon enjoying it also in his town, the turbot. 2 kilograms of fish, big fish, and with that lovely white wine that comes from the north of Spain, the Albarino grape. Lovely wine it is, and the perfect combination. Nice fish and a nice glass of chilled white wine. Thanks, Simon. My mouth is watering thinking of that combination of food. Thank you. One here from Newsmonger77. Don't review Chinese restaurants in Madrid. Laughing emojis. Thanks, Newsmonger. Yeah, I don't know whether this is in retaliation of the Chinese tariff war with the States that's being suggested, or whether it's because of the quality of some Chinese restaurants in Madrid. I'll say some Chinese restaurants, because a lot of them leave a bit to be desired. Or that might be a bit of an understatement. A lot of them leave a lot to be desired, the Chinese restaurants in Madrid. There are some good ones. I've found some good ones over the years, but you've got to really go into the cracks to find them. Sometimes they're in hidden locations. You'll see Chinese people eating in those restaurants, which is normally a sign that the food is good. But the Chinese restaurants that cater to the Spanish population, yeah, probably best to be avoided. And I'm sure other people would agree with me on that. But yeah, again, don't really know the context here, whether it's the tariff war or whether the food's just not good in Chinese restaurants, so I should not review them. Thanks for the comment. And that's it for the comments. So now we're going to go into the live chat. But before I get there, I need to change the backdrop picture. This photo was sent in by Brad, who's a regular viewer living down there in the province of Malaga. I think he's in the chat section this evening, so we'll say g'day to Brad in just a moment. But the picture is of a church. Apparently that's a church sitting up there on the top of the hill in a place called Montefrio in the province of Malaga. I think it is a church. We can see the cross on top of it. And churches quite often in difficult positions to make it difficult for the faithful to do their religious duties, because let's be honest, having to get up to the top of that hill to go to the church, is it worth it? I don't know, but thanks, Brad, for sending that picture through. If anyone else has got a similar picture that they would like to see on the backdrop, the email address is going on the screen right now, spainspeaks@gmail.com it is, and you can send anything you want through to that email address. As long as it's not spam, you can send photos through. Any pieces of information that you would like to bring to my attention, feel free to send them through to that email address, of course. The like icon is on the screen too. If you have not hit the like button yet, we're currently sitting at 49, just short of the half century. So if you could do us a favor and hit the like icon, please, to see if we can get up to a decent tally today as far as likes are concerned. Let's see. Now, I need to go into the chat section. the live chat. Let's see what's bubbling away in that live chat. Let's open it up here. Let me scroll up to the top. Not a lot of activity today. I've got a super chat from Marcus, I think, regular contributor to the channel. I haven't seen Marcus for a while in the live stream. Good to see you back again, Marcus. €5 between a rock and a hard place, choosing who to make our alliances with from now on. EU does not need to act as one at this time. No side. The EU does need to act as one. No side deals. Well, I think Sánchez is. We saw there that according to what the press is saying, he's acting on behalf of the US. But I don't see Ursula von der Leyen meeting with Mr. Xi in Beijing. It's only Pedro Sánchez. Maybe it's because of that close relationship that they have. We saw the other day the Chinese ambassador here in Spain saying that they're best buddies, basically. Best buddies. So we'll see what happens as far as that is concerned. But Sánchez wants those dollars or whatever the Chinese currency is. But I presume they deal in dollars. Patrick is the first person that I can see in the chat. Any port in a storm, seeing as Spain owes trillions of euros to the rest of the world. Yeah, that is true. Very high debt here in Spain and many countries, let's be honest. It's not only Spain, but Spain has borrowed heavily over the years to keep the system afloat. The big social system that they have here to keep it afloat costs a lot of money, and sometimes the books don't balance. So you go and borrow money, or somebody gives you money, which has been the case of the European Union on many an occasion when the Spanish economy has bottomed out. So yeah, a lot of money is owed, but as I said, not the only country in the world that owes a lot of money, let's be honest. Walter is coming in from Florida, Boca Raton, 22 degrees there and cloudy. 25 here where I am today, Walter. So a good temperature. Happy with that. Nice day today it was. A little bit windy, but we can't complain. John's in the chat as well, back in the UK, running a bit late, so we'll catch up with the chat a bit later. Gigi's in the chat as well, Camino expert, soon to be back in Spain. 36 where Gigi is. So warmer than Florida, perfect pool weather. Yes, sir, it is indeed perfect pool weather, 36 degrees. Sani's in the chat as well, coming in from Basingstoke, back in Valencia on Monday. Hope all goes well with the trip, Sani. Hope all goes well. Tio Al is in the chat too. Uncle Al to his friends. Buenas mis amigos. Cloudy and chilly in El Puerto this evening, going to a Galician restaurant tonight. Hope all is well. Enjoy the food there, Al. You might get a turbot on the menu, the rodaballo. So try that one out if it is. A nice fish meal. Brad, the author of the photo that we have behind us here, the Montefrio Church on top of the hill there, coming in from Puerto Banús. Good to see you, Brad. Thanks for the photo. Stephen is in the chat as well, hoping that everyone's having a good week. Warm and sunny in North London. Off to Helsinki tomorrow to celebrate his birthday. Should be welcome relief for the hay fever, worst Stephen has had. Yeah, my hay fever too has been playing up, Stephen. The other day I think I mentioned that, but it seems to be under control today. So fingers crossed it will stay that way. Normally the afternoons are when it starts to trigger a little bit. But I hope yours is okay with that trip to Finland with the cooler weather. Joaquin is in the chat too. Valencia here, best city in the world, according to Joaquin. Thanks for that, Joaquin. I'm sure people will agree with you. Jen possibly also coming in from Valencia. Regular viewer also is Jen. Sends me lots of information too. So I'm sure Jen would agree. Valencia as the best city in the world. Douglas coming in from Texas in the United States. Thanks, Douglas, for your appearance today. Edward saying, love Spain, but going with China is a mistake. They will dump more cheap stuff in Spain, which will cost jobs in Spain. Thanks for that, Edward. Yeah, there are a lot of cheap Chinese goods circulating around Spain. I know that the Spanish police, the customs police, have their work cut out for them with the Chinese operations here. They seem to spend a lot of time going to the warehouses to try to work out whether people are paying taxes or not. That is what I have been told by officers of the Civil Guard, for example. A lot of the big Chinese warehouses, whether they've done the correct paperwork, paying all of the customs and excise tax and all of those type of things. But no doubt, more Chinese products, not only the cheap ones, but maybe the if there are, higher end products coming in like cars and car parts and things like that. We'll see. Carmen in the chat too. Hi everyone. Arrived in Madrid yesterday. Now in Ourense, in an Ourense town with 24 degrees currently. Thanks for that, Carmen. Hope you enjoy your time in Ourense, up there in Galicia, of course. Maybe you'll get some octopus, some of that nice pulpo, which, of course, Ourense is famous for, or some of the towns around Ourense have the octopus festivals sometimes on a weekly basis in some of those towns. I remember every Thursday in one of the towns that I was staying out there for a while, had the octopus on the streets. Yes, great times, great times. OGB, go for it. We need reliable business partners here in Europe, so in favour of Spain siding with China. Eric is in the chat too. From an overcast terraza, temperatures are climbing slowly, at least at lunchtime. Same here. Today up to 21. Mornings are cooler, around 8 degrees Celsius. Exactly the same weather that we have here, Erica. Almost a carbon copy. Almost a carbon copy. OGB also saying, why should we have to bow down to the US when they are openly attacking us economically? Interesting question there. I'm sure someone will answer it. Andrew's in the chat, not wanting to make political comments, but one has to wonder where Trump is at. Yeah, I think lots of people are wondering that, where he's at. I don't think he even knows. I don't think he was expecting such a backlash from the markets. So, again, what the end game is here, I don't know. But it's interesting to see all the commentary around it. A lot of people that were talking his policies up a few weeks ago are now changing their tune. Johnny's in the chat as well. Making coffee in San Diego, 17 degrees Celsius there. Good to see you, Johnny. Valued member, of course. Jose's in the chat here. Please tell me that it's not true that I left Cuba in the 1980s due to communism, living in the USA for several decades, now planning to retire in Spain due to Trump, and Sanchez is getting closer to China. Yeah, well, that's the world we're living in, Jose. That's the world we're living in. Things are changing very, very quickly. Quicker than some people would like, especially people that were planning a retirement around this time of the year, looking to take their money out of the stock market. And yep. Mike coming in from Canada, 17 degrees Celsius there. Snow and ice melting fast. We have an election on the 28th. Trying to get the Liberals out after 10 years of them ruining our great nation. Well, that's what you have the chance to do that, Mike. I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about the political situation in Canada. All I know is that your man Trudeau, or whatever his name was, left. Another guy came in for a short period and calls elections. Yes, interesting times in North America. Andrea, good afternoon, Stu. Come to Portugal, don't forget. Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, come to Portugal. I might be there soon. My Italian therapy, Gina's in the chat. The US is a nightmare. The dollar has dropped again. I'm in Portugal waiting to transfer dollars to euro. Hateful man. I'm in disbelief that one man can affect the world. Yep, a lot of people, no doubt, think exactly the same thing as you, Gina. Exactly the same. Taking a break to watch the live, taking a break from work to catch the live stream. Hoping everyone is well. From a cold expecting snow Toronto. There we go. Cold in that part of the world. expecting snow on the 10th of April. Buying made in China is cheaper, according to Rico for you. But who can protect Spain? The USA. Sánchez radical woke is so lost. There we go. Not in favor of Mr. Sánchez, siding with the Chinese, or los chinos as they're called here. Stu, Portugal now has 20% of the active population being immigrants, but there's always a place for me. If you still like it there. Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, a lot of countries have active immigrant populations nowadays to fill up the gaps in the labour market. Portuguese people, as we know, Andrea, have for many, many decades gone to work in economies that pay them a lot bigger salaries. Luxembourg, lots of Portuguese people. France, there's lots of Portuguese people. And you see them every summer when they come back to their towns in their flash cars with the Luxembourg plates on with the little Portuguese stickers. Canada, also a big home for Portuguese over the years as well. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Marcus also saying here, don't know about ham, wine, and gin, but we should be able to get Chinese solar power components and EVs cheaper. We need that stuff to pivot from buying foreign oil and gas. Thanks, Marcus, for that. Another point of view there, of course. What else? Let's have a look here. The euro is strong against the dollar. Yeah, well, it's great if you're traveling to the US, but the other way, not so. Brian coming in here from Spain, of course, recently moved to Spain. Don't really blame Sánchez and government for turning their back on the US and going to China instead, but Sánchez might be making a big deal with El Diablo. Well, no one knows. But as we said before, Brian, Sánchez and Xi Jinping, bosom buddies. Bosom buddies. What else we got going on here? According to the Chinese ambassador. Brad saying, not impressed with Audi either. Prefer Mercadona and Carrefour. Yeah, Audi, it has its good things. I'm not going to lie. There are some products that I like, but I find it's always a little bit limited when you're looking for certain products. You just can't seem to find them in Audi. Even some basic things, you just can't find anything there. Gillian saying here that if Sánchez sides with China as an independent source, will it affect his desire to be a future EU leader? Don't know, Gillian. Don't know. Depends how close the EU gets with China, I suppose. Sánchez's visit to China is reminiscent of Chamberlain's visit to Germany. Laughing out loud is Al. Thanks, Al, for that. Marcus also saying here, Audi in Spain and Portugal is the inferior Audi Nord variant. The UK and Italy get Audi Sud, which is why the Brits rave about Audi. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the Audi Sud. I know that there is a difference between the two brothers, I think. One runs one side, one runs the other side. Yeah, we get the poorer version down here in Spain. Unfortunately. Antonio's in the chat here too. Absolutely agree about Chinese restaurants in Spain. Many years ago in Madrid, it helped the big owner of a Chinese restaurant. Better not to know about the food. Bad. Yeah, it tends to be, I'm not going to say I've eaten in Chinese restaurants here over the years, and it's always been the same experience. The restaurants just seem to copy. There's no variety. Everything seems to be the same, all of the same dishes, and they always taste the same as well. So I don't know whether there's just the catering to the tastes, obviously, of the local market, but yeah. What else? Let's have, I rave so much about Audi. Thanks, Marcus, for finishing that sentence there. Chinese food in China is amazing. Lots of regional differences among the provinces. Great food, not in Spain with Chinese food. Like I said, I've only really found one or two restaurants that I think are above the rest when it comes to the quality of the food, the way it's cooked. There's a very good one in a part of Madrid. You wouldn't even walk in from the look of the outside of the restaurant, but once you go in, the food is outstanding. But again, it's not the flashiest restaurant I've seen in my travels. I'll tell you that. Janice is in Belfast. Beautiful sunny day there. Makes a change. Absolutely. Belfast, I don't think too many days of sun are recorded throughout the year. Jimbo, happy Easter. He's got the old Easter Bunny logo there. Getting ready for Easter. Who's this? AI saying that Spain is not for expats anymore. The leftist media keeps promoting hatred for the tourists and expats. They see this as a communist mission. Well, that's a strong statement. Don't know if that's completely true, but everyone is entitled to their opinion, of course. Cruz saying here, good luck if Spain goes with China. I'm sure Spain benefits more from the US than the USA benefits from Spain. There we go. Another one there, another comment there saying that Spain's going down the wrong track. Carmen reaffirming here that Orense does have the pulpo cauldrons outside on Thursdays and Fridays, but no thanks. Not a fan of the old pulpo, is Carmen. Imagine Trump's face when King Charles tells him he wants the UK wants American back. Very good evening to it. Yeah, thanks, Teddy, for that. Controversial statement as well. John coming in from San Diego, California. Good to see you, John. What else? Let's have a look. We saw some very interesting comments about Europe from the US leaders in the Yemen chat group. There we go, group chat. There we go. Thanks, Marcus. Yes, another one of the issues that we've had over the interesting last 3 months. What else? Edward saying, I seemed fair and balanced, always for freedom. Thanks, Edward, for that. I try to be fair and balanced, but it's not easy in the current political climate that we have. Everyone's invested in some way, shape, or form. And, we don't really know what's going on, which is the big worry. And that's why the markets are reacting as they are, because they don't like uncertainty, as we know. What else? Chinese restaurants are not mainland China. Thanks, CL, for that. Best Chinese food was in Chinatown, Liverpool. A million miles from the authentic Chinese. Thanks for that. Lack of choice at Aldi. Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest complaint, Brad. Lack of choice. I like a bit of choice when I go to the supermarket, you know? You don't seem to get it at Aldi. They only have a very limited range of brands. What else we've got going on here? MSG, says Joaquin. Yeah, in English, MSG, they put it in the food to increase the flavour. Yep, that is most likely true. Cantonese food, different from Mandarin food. Thanks, CL Man, for that. Al saying here that in San Francisco, many regional Chinese restaurants, Szechuan, Hakka, Beijing, Cantonese, Hong Kong, to name a few, all different. Yeah, I imagine Chinese cuisine is very varied, but we only get that standard Chinese fare, at least a lot of the restaurants that I've seen here. Renan is still in Madrid saying hello. Good to see you, Renan. I was saying I forgot the Chi Chow. Thanks, Al, for that. Now, that's the end of the chat section. I'm going to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure as always. Back again on Sunday with another one. Hope to see you then. Have a great start to the weekend, a great end of the week. Hasta luego, hasta entonces, adios, and bye-bye.